Welcome to Net Zero. I am Jerôme Peyret Oberholzer. What progress has Mexico made in achieving its climate goals? Dr. Adrian Fernandez, director of Iniciativa Climática de México, has worked for more than 30 years on climate change and environmental policy issues in Mexico. He's a leading expert in areas such as air pollution, environmental health, toxic substances, and he has published extensively on these topics. He was the founder and CEO of Mexico's Climate Initiative, a nonprofit foundation that promotes climate change mitigation efforts. It is my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Adrian Fernandez to Net Zero. So, Adrian, why did you choose to focus your work on the Mexican environment? What was your inspiration?
Since I was probably your age, I knew I wanted to work on the environment. So what I did is to study biology with a specialization in ecology, right? The study of the ecosystems, the populations, and so on. So, and Mexico is my country. And Mexico, we are very privileged because, as you know, we have a very rich country in many aspects, rich in culture, rich in the environment, rich on wildlife and everything. So this was a great place to try to do a career in biology. And then I had the privilege of working for the government as a senior government officer for many years and representing my country. And one of the most wonderful things I have seen in this international landscape is the appearance, the emergence of these wonderful organizations like POP, the POP movement. And that's why I'm so excited to have a chance, a privilege to interact with you guys and to learn from you. And hopefully, if I can, in a modest way, to support your movement and to try to help your movement as well.
What are the most important climate lessons you have learned in the past 30 years about bringing positive changes for the environment?
There was a major shift, a major change in international negotiations. For 30 years, there was a polarization in the discussions. The so-called rich or developed countries pointing the finger at the developing countries whose populations were growing and also where their emissions were slowly growing. On the other side, on the other hand, the fact that for literally a couple of centuries, the emissions from developed countries, from the rich countries, were already very high and were accumulating in the atmosphere. So if we look at the problem today, we recognize that, let's say, the majority of the problem so far, it's being caused by developed nations, the rich nations. But it is also truth. We all have common but differentiated responsibilities.
My next question would be, what have been Mexico's most significant climate achievements to date?
2008, 9, etc. It was a time in which still there was significant polarization. At that time, Mexico was one of the very few emerging economies saying it is absolutely fine that we also participate and make an effort. And that's one of the key reasons why Mexico had at that time very good reputation internationally on climate. Now, in more recent times, Mexico, of course, submitted in 2015 some goals to the Paris Agreement. So Mexico's NDC, nationally determined contributions. Things are not moving very well at the moment. Energy policies at the moment in Mexico are not the right ones. They are not supporting renewable energies. They are supporting fossil fuels. But that's why we will have to work together in a constructive way to persuade and to help the government and everybody so that we all join our forces to start advancing much more quickly in Mexico in reducing our emissions.
How do you rate Mexico's performance to date and plans for the future?
Let's talk about the goals that Mexico submitted in 2015. Those goals are considered to be, let's say, modest. They are okay and certainly insufficient to advance towards the 1.5 goal, not allowing the temperature to go beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius. Mexico has promised that this year, before the COP in Egypt, Mexico is going to submit newer NDCs with more ambition. So now we have to go back and do our homework to join many other countries that have already submitted better goals.
What are the most important things that Mexico must do in order to achieve the net zero goals?
What we then have to do, I believe, first is to do two things. One, to make sure that every country, including Mexico, has a clear, transparent, precise, and robust plan on how Mexico is going to be advancing for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, until the 2050, so that we achieve that net zero goal that is so important. We should keep a close eye, a close tracking of the actions, the policies, the realities, not the discourses, not the speeches, not that. That is not useful for the planet. We must track and we must report. So let's all work hard to encourage Mexico to go the right path, to use renewables and to stop using fossil fuels.
Adrian, do you have any final thoughts or takeaways for our net zero audience?
I think that the youth have tremendous legitimacy, credibility. You are honest, you are there to teach us. We can always try to be very supportive in this tremendous crusade of moving and achieving net zero at the middle of this century.
Thank you so much for your time and perspective, Dr. Adrian Fernandez. This is Jerôme Peyret Oberholzer. I add my voice to the voices of the Net Zero International Youth Peers to monitor the action of our world leaders to achieve their net zero commitments. Together, we can achieve net zero.